businesses touch more people every day than anybody else. So isn't it our responsibility to create a place where people go to work every day and they go home happy? Because happy people create happy families create happy communities, and happy communities create a happy world, and we need a happy world.
Welcome to Encouraging Leaders, a podcast that exists to remind CEOs and aspiring CEOs that they are not alone and they don't have to lead that way. I'm Mark DeBraun, and today we're joined by someone who has breathed courage into me and so many leaders around the world. Garry Ridge is the dynamic CEO of WD-40. For the last 25 years, he's led that organization and just recently named the new CEO, renowned for transforming the global organization into a powerhouse of innovation and employee engagement. You know, under his leadership, they not only celebrated incredible financial results, but it was really the corporate culture that prioritizes mutual respect, learning, and employee development. I can't wait to have this conversation with Garry. So I'm going to turn it over first. Garry, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mark, it's great to be with you. And, I've got to give you my personal and my official self-introduction. G'day, I'm Garry Ridge. I am the now refired, consciously incompetent, probably wrong, and roughly right Chairman Emeritus of WD-40 Company.
It is beautiful. It's beautiful. You know, each word intentionally chosen, consciously incompetent. What does that mean to you?
It means that the three words that have become the most powerful words in my life, which are I don't know, are really meaningful. And that's one of the great things that, and in fact, just yesterday, I was having a conversation with someone and I said, I think part of my success, if I've had any, is that I was comfortable not knowing. And by not knowing, I intuitively had to invite others into the conversation and into the forum. Because as you know, there are two things that people really need in organizations. Number one is, do I belong? And number two is, do I matter? And there's nothing that makes people matter more and makes them feel like they matter more than when you ask them to have input into whatever it is you're considering or whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I think about, there's so many people that say that in different ways, but I love how simple it is when you say it. Get comfortable saying, I don't know. You have to be okay with saying it. It's your favorite leadership saying. You've said it before to me. I just used it in a coaching session with the CEO the other day because it's such a simple concept. I have to be able to say, I don't know. And that brings people in to the conversation.
Absolutely. And that's really how the learning moment was born. You know, I birthed the learning moment, which the definition of the learning moment is a positive or negative outcome of any situation that needs to be openly and freely shared to benefit all people. And one of the reasons that people don't share not only most of their successes or any of their failures is because we don't want to say we failed. But, you know, life, when you think about it, is just a continual event of failures because that's what happens. Yeah. The top baseball players, when they're batting, how many out of 1,000 do they hit? Like 300 or something?
Yeah, the top ones, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So they've had 700 swings that helped them hit the 300 because if they hadn't have had the 1,000 swings, they wouldn't have hit the 300. So the learning moment is there to encourage people to not only share what is working, but what could we look at to do better than we are today?
It's such I just wonder why, in sports, we do know that we're going to hit 700 bad ones, going to miss, and get some hits, and they add up to winning the game. How do you define winning the game? How do you help leaders define winning the game? What role does that play?
Well, I think that, as leaders, our number one responsibility is to help those we have the privilege to lead to play their best game. So how do you do that? So number one, as the leader, you need to know the rules of the game. And I call those the values. What are the values in your organization that protect you and set you free? Number two, you have to understand what it takes to win. And if you think of your job as a leader, you're really a coach. And a great coach has some attributes. Number one is a great coach never, ever, ever, ever runs on the field. In business, we would call that micromanagement. Number two, a great coach never, ever, ever goes to the podium to pick up the prize because it's not their prize. A great coach spends a lot of time on the sideline observing the play and providing feedback to the player on how they could play a better game. And they spend a lot of time in the locker room, building trust, building that psychological safety that takes out fear and allows people to really be who they are, their genuine self.
I love those details. So they don't step on the field. It's like micromanaging, but they don't actually make the tackles. Have you ever seen a coach go out on the field and make the tackle in football? It would be pretty abnormal, right? It would be like, oh boy, he just messed up. But I see it all the time in leadership. And I honestly have done it. And so it's so, when you're moving from independent contributor to leader of people, how do you see people making that transition and not stepping out on the field and trying to make the tackle?
It's discipline, because it's really, really hard. We want to run on the field. We want to do that. It's the thing we'd have to realize is micromanagement is not scalable. And if you're going to scale an organization, you can't do it by being a micromanager and running on the field all the time. It just doesn't work. You have to help people play their best game if you're going to build an organization.
I think about that scalability, or, almost every leader, they get stuck sometimes at growth limits. They basically can't grow beyond something. They're stuck. And you said micromanagement is not scalable. It doesn't grow. It doesn't allow things to grow. Where did you learn micromanagement isn't scalable?
Well, it was an aha moment for me, back in the early time of my privileged leadership at WD-40. We were a US-based brand, basically, and we had a goal. We wanted to take the blue and yellow can with a little red top to the world. But that wasn't going to happen unless we empowered people in doing their job without having to kind of quack up the hierarchy all the time and get permission. So that was my aha moment is, we have to create a culture where people are empowered. Our values did that. Our values are the roadmap, if you like. I love describing values like the banks of a river. If you think about the banks of a river that starts at the mountain and ends at the sea, and the banks of the river help the water flow down to the sea. Now, there's a lot happens on that river, Mark. There's rapids, there's places of solace, there's events, but if those banks weren't there, that water would become a cesspool. So, how do you create that so that the water will flow without you being there, being the person rowing the boat all the time? Because you get pretty tired rowing that boat if you're already doing it yourself.
Yeah. So two things. You knew that micromanagement wasn't going to be able to bring you to. How many countries did you expand to?
176.
176 countries. Oh, mind-blowing. And if you were going to try to manage everybody tightly, like micromanage them, it just wouldn't have worked, right?
No.
Yeah.
No,
and so you had to put some values in. Talk to me about how clear you had to be about the values and anything specific about how you did that.
Well, one thing I learned from our dear friend Ken Blanchard, and that's really where I got the inspiration around values need to be hierarchical. And a lot of companies don't have hierarchical values, and we did. And the reason they need to be hierarchical is that there are some values that need to have more presence than others. And you don't want a set of values that allow people to cherry pick the value depending on the situation. And I'll give you a very clear example of that. Our number one value at WD-40 was we value doing the right thing. Our number two value was we value creating positive, lasting memories in all of our relationships. And number six value was we value sustaining the WD-40 company economy, which was the value that was related to profitability. Now, you would think as a public company, our number one value should be to be profitable, right? Or to grow profitability. You certainly have to have a profitable business to feed the engine of an organization. Yeah. But let's say that Mark was working in supply chain and you were required to make purchase decisions. And someone came into you one day and they said, Mark, I'm going to make a hero out of you. Help. Yeah. I want to be a hero.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I've got a way of you taking and putting $2 million on your bottom line like that. Are you ready for the promotion that your boss is going to give you when you do that? And you're a public company. You're going to be applauded by Wall Street. Now, here's how you do it. It's very simple. I've looked at your product. I've looked at one of the ingredients. I have an ingredient to replace that ingredient. We've done the testing, efficacy, no problem at all. And I've done the calculation, the numbers. If you replace that ingredient with mine, you're going to save the company $2 million. Are you ready to be a hero? Are you ready?
It's a little, I mean, I am if I don't have any other values tied to it.
Okay, now here it is. Just one little thing you need to do. On the back of the can, you need to write this statement. There is a substance in this product that's known to the state of California to cause cancer. And don't worry about it because everybody does it. In fact, there's a competitive product out there that obviously is not as good as yours, but it has that statement on it. So you're free. My number one value is to value doing the right thing. And number two is creating positive, lasting memories. Cancer doesn't create positive, lasting memories. Sorry, I can't do it. But Mark, I want to talk to your boss. You don't understand. Let me see the CEO. You can go talk to the chairman of the board if you want. Guess what? They're going to give you exactly the same answer because we make decisions based on a predetermined set of values.
Yeah. It's so powerful. I had not heard the hierarchical values statement until we met. And I just love that it's not cherry picking because often they can feel conflicting. It's like, well, I want the profit side and I want the purpose side and I need this and that and that. So people start to cherry pick, like you said, instead of actually
Absolutely.
Powerful example of what it allows for coaching to be easier. You made the decision while you were CEO of WD-40 to actually change the name and title, the name of manager to coach. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. You manage your bank account. You manage inventory. What are you there? What is your prime role as a leader? It's to help those that you serve step into the best version of their personal self. Yeah. How do you do that? Well, you do it by being a great coach. So as you and I know, and, we're so dedicated to the power of coaching that, coaching is not about telling somebody to do something. It's about helping them identify how to play a better game. Yeah. So we said everybody's a coach. And I used to open some of my management meetings with a simple statement, be under no misunderstanding. You are here for only one reason. As a coach, you are here to help those you have the privilege to lead step into the best version of their personal self. Yeah. Now, let's be good at it. And that's why we did it.
Well, the simplicity and clarity with which you were able to build that culture and the engagement that is evident from the reports. And also whenever I got to meet some of your team, it's just like the engagement level is off the charts. Their hearts are in it. I know you had mentioned some details about some surveys that you used to be able to check on that. Tell me about those.
Yeah, we had 93% employee engagement. We did surveys in 7 languages. They're all confidential. But talk about this number. 97% of the people at WD-40 said positively, I respect my coach. Now, most people leave companies because they hate their boss.
Most people leave companies because they hate their bosses.
Now, this word respect, now, when we asked, why do you respect your coach? Yeah. Because my coach is here to help me win. 98% of the people in the company said, I love to tell people I work at WD-40 company. Yeah. Pretty powerful.
I just think that powerful, the coach mindset, being in it for the person, developing and helping them get an A, as your book says, that concept that they can challenge them, but not lose heart for them. They can love them well and lead them well, but also challenge them. Talk to me about, what you find sometimes when people are trying to challenge versus clap for or cheer for. What role do you play coaches in that?
So, we have a good friend, Ron Carusi, wrote a great book, To Be Honest, right? And Ron makes a great statement. Unfortunately, poor leaders protect their own comfort zone at the expense of other people's development. So as a great coach, not only do you have to love your people enough to reward them and applaud them for doing great work, but you have to be brave enough to redirect the play. And to redirect the play, you better be sure that there's clarity around what do we expect from each other. And that's really the background to the book, helping people win at work. The byline is, we're not here to mark your paper. We're here to help you get an A. Okay. What does an A look like? If an A walked in the room today, how would you identify it? So the first step in a great coaching relationship is, what's an A look like? Yeah. Okay. Now we've both agreed what it looks like. We can identify it. You're committed to getting it. I'm committed to helping you get it. Let's get to work.
it aligns every system to the same goal. The goal is for you to be able to get an A. You have said that you want to get an A, and you've told me what you think an A is, and we've agreed upon it. What a powerful alignment tool. I think about just one last question. If you've been leading for a long time, and I loved your words that you're refiring now. What drives your passion and energy? What keeps you moving and saying, I don't want to just stop. I want to keep on moving?
The world is not a happy place. And business leaders and businesses touch more people every day than anybody else. So isn't it our responsibility to create a place where people go to work every day? They make a contribution to something bigger than themselves. They learn something new. They're protected and set free by a compelling set of values, and they go home happy. Because happy people create happy families create happy communities, and happy communities create a happy world, and we need a happy world. So what drives me every day is that I think I can make a small difference if I can help people understand that building a great culture is not that difficult. I'm writing a new book, as you know. It's called Any Dumbass Can Do It. And why I've picked that title is, if you know the ingredients and you say, wait, if you think about, reflect on my algorithm for culture equals values plus behavior times consistency. So as a leader, if you've got the clearly defined set of values, if you've defined the behaviors and you're brave enough to be able to redirect those that aren't going in the right direction and applaud and reward those that are going in the right direction, and you do that consistently every day, you'll win. A good friend of ours, I think, is Charlie Maloof. He's the CEO of Broad River Retail, Ashley Furniture Stores. I think you've met him. He made a great statement. He said, you cannot microwave culture. It takes a crock pot approach. Don't you love that?
You're a collector of the best quotes. I love those from Ron and from, tell me the last quote and who it was by. I want to hear it.
This is Charlie Maloof. Mm-hmm. He's the CEO of Broad River Retail. They are the licensees for Ashley Furniture Stores in the South. And it says, you cannot microwave culture. It takes a crock pot approach. Isn't it so true?
In this day and age of micro attention spans and desires for quick results and quarterly over year and quarterly over quarterly have to get it right perfect. I think about that little quote and the magic that is inside of that. One day at a time, one step at a time, you're building culture with values plus behaviors consistently practiced. And you can build a culture where everybody's engaged every single day. Absolutely honored to be with you today. And, if you are a CEO or a leader out there and want to look at how to build coaching into your organization, tap me, message me, spend 15 minutes together, and I can share a little bit about what we're doing and hear what you're working on. Would love to meet you. Garry, thank you so much again, and really looking forward to seeing you soon.
Life's a gift. Don't send it back unwrapped.